The main thing that is happening right now is the greatest massacre in our modern history in Iran. They have snipers, they have machine guns, military grade machine guns that are just pointing into the crowd and shooting. They are so angry based on the amount of blood that has been spilled that they don't care. They don't care if they die anymore. Supporting the Iranian people right now is not for the sake of Iranian people. You're helping Iranian people get rid of your own enemy.
Welcome back to Axis of Truth on JNS, and I'm here with Armin Navabi, an Iranian-born author and activist, as well as the founder of the Atheist Republic, one of the largest secular and ex-Muslim communities in the world. Now, Armin is a leading voice against Islamism and religious authoritarianism, drawing, of course, from his own experience growing up under the Islamic Republic of Iran. Through his writing and advocacy, he's really become a prominent defender of free expression, as well as separation of religion and state in the Middle East and beyond. Welcome, Armin.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And in addition to being against Islamism, I'm also against Islam as well. And I think more Iranians are also more and more anti-Islam. And I think based on what's happening in Iran right now, if Islam had any chance of survival before, based on the crimes of what the Islamic Republic has just committed, I think they just lost any remaining chances that they had. I was just watching a video from a grieving mother looking for the body of her child among all of the body bags, and at the very end of it, last few seconds, she started cursing the holiest figures in Shia Islam. And I'm getting so many reports of people from not just from our generation or younger, but from the older generation saying that they would never step foot in a mosque, that's swearing not just at the Islamic Republic, not just at Khamenei, but also the most sacred figures in Shia Islam.
Well, we'll speak about this more for sure, but I want to speak about the current situation to start. Now, Armin, you have been covering this every single night, and you've long said that this regime can't be reformed. What makes this uprising different from 2009, 2019, 2022, and why does it feel like a point of no return for the Islamic Republic?
The main thing that is happening right now is the greatest massacre in our modern history in Iran, and it's unbelievable that not more people um, are talking about this. And by the way, Emily, thank you so much for your coverage. I could tell you that you are a hero to us Iranians, and hopefully, once this is all over, we could welcome you in Iran as a hero, because your coverage and all of this has been so valuable, and we will never forget what you have done for us. So thank you to you and all Israelis who have been backing us during this really hard time. We will never forget this. But also, to answer to your question, the reason why this is different from previous ones is because we're not just fighting against the Islamic Republic, we're fighting for something. We're fighting for the return of Pahlavi to Iran. The other waves of this revolution was mostly just anti-Islamic Republic, but we didn't have unity over what we want in its place, and now we do. And people in Iran are giving their lives just to be able to shout his name in the streets of Iran. And 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 this is why this is not just our revolution, but it's also your revolution. This is a revolution for Israel, this is a revolution for America, and this is a revolution for the rest of the world, because the Iranian people, in the same way that Israelis have paid the highest price to fight an evil that is a threat to the whole world, Iranian people are also today paying the heaviest price to fight the same evil that Israel has been fighting, that will save, not just save us Iranian people, but save everyone else. So this is why when we're asking for help, this is the help that will come towards us, if it comes finally, eventually, hopefully it comes. It's not an act of charity, because it's cooperation, because the Iranian people are paying the most of the price to get rid of an evil that is not just targeting Iranian people. I mean, I grew up in Iran. We were always told that the ultimate goal is world domination. We were told that Pahlavi was the first step, Israel is the small Satan, which is the second step, and United States is the great Satan, which is the final step that will lead to eventual world domination. I'm not saying they will ever be successful at that, but given that that's their goal, you could imagine how big of a threat to everyone around the world they are, given that their goal is to completely dismantle the world order as we know it. So supporting the Iranian people right now is not for this just for the sake of Iranian people. You're helping Iranian people get rid of your own enemy, and they're paying. And they will never forget this. By the way, like it's important to realize that for Israel and for United States and other countries, getting rid of the Islamic Republic is a huge plus for them, but also the relationship that Iran is going to have with your country after is even is something on top of that, because we're going to be our state is going to go from being part of a problem to being part of a solution, especially for Israel. We're going to be cooperating. Our militaries are going to our artish is going to be cooperating with the IDF when it comes to fighting terrorist groups all around our neighborhood. Our Savak is going to be cooperating with Mossad when it comes to intelligence operations around the neighborhood. So we're going to be allies, just like we always have been for the past 2,500 years. We're going to go back to being allies again and working with each other side by side to basically neutralize our enemies. So at this moment, the help that we get is going to strengthen the bond that we're going to have after this revolution is successful. So one way or another, just let me be clear, because even if we don't receive any help, we Iranian people, we are going to get rid of the Islamic Republic. The help that we're asking for is not because it's necessary to get rid of the Islamic Republic. The help that we're asking for is to reduce the cost. Is to reduce the cost for removing the Islamic Republic, and it's also so that we that the relationship that are we going to have with the countries that helped us, we strengthen that bond, and it's basically a win-win for both of us. The win for us is that we're going to have less people dying. The win for United States and Israel is going to be that we will never forget the help that we received, and it's just going to strengthen the bond and cooperations that we're going to have. Iran is a great nation, and I'm pretty sure being an ally of the country that we are about to come is going to be a huge advantage to any country that right now takes advantage of this opportunity and helps reduce this mass slaughter right now.
That's actually a really important point. Fighting the regime actually helps all sides here, and delaying help only makes the fall of the regime slower and, as we spoke about, more deadly. As you know, the regime keeps pushing this myth of foreign interference while at the same time importing thousands of terrorists from Iraq to crush Iranian protesters. What does that contradiction tell us about who the real foreign actors are in this equation?
I mean, everything that they're accusing us for, they did worse during the revolution that they celebrate. The revolution that they did in 1979, they were trained by the so-called Palestinians. They had help from Libya. They had so much foreign help, and they were trained. They got ammunition from so-called Palestinians and Libya. And they accuse us right now of being supporting terrorism in the streets. They burned cinemas with people in them just so that they could blame it on the Shah. So it's obviously projection. But when it comes to foreign intervention, I mean, no revolution has been successful. I mean, there are not that many. The vast majority of revolutions have been successful with some foreign help. The United States Revolution, became successful because of French help. So I don't understand. Like that is what is the problem with that? The Iranian people, a lot of people were criticizing Iranians that you should do this yourself without without any foreign help. Now we see the cost of the revolution. Now that the Iranian people have done more than anybody even imagined they would do, and you see the number of people dying, everybody could see that some help would go a long way to reduce the massacre. And again, I mean, anybody who says, no foreign intervention, if you look at empirical data, where has isolationism gotten us? Every single society that has become prosperous, that has become a great nation, has done that because of cooperation and with other great nations, with allies. So Iran has a huge potential of becoming a great nation, and anybody helping us right now is just basically the beginning of many future cooperations to come. So, I mean, America is the greatest superpower on earth, and it started its journey of being a nation state by the French helping with its revolution. So why should we not ask for some help for our revolution?
Yeah, that's a great point that you mentioned. Now, many Iranians have heard strong rhetoric from President Trump and figures like Steve Witkoff, but then watched as action didn't immediately follow that, leading to ultimately very barbaric bloodshed at the hands of the regime. From what you're hearing directly from people on the ground, how damaging has that silence been, and what do Iranians need to see now? I mean, is there still momentum?
So, there is still momentum because every single report that I'm getting from inside Iran, what I'm hearing is that there, even if there, it has ups and downs, right? So you have sometimes the presence is really high, sometimes it dies down a little. But just because it dies down a little, it doesn't mean that the drive, the motivation, uh, has gone away, right? Because what I'm hearing is that they are waiting to start again. They're waiting for another spark to go back into the streets, and and actually more than before. Everything I've heard from every single person from inside Iran is that they are so angry based on the amount of blood that has been spilled that they don't care. They don't care if they die anymore, and they think that their understanding is that the price that they have paid so far is too much for this not to work out. So I hear people talking about it as if they're talking about something so casually, like, "Oh yeah, my brother died, my sister died, my neighbor died, and we're waiting to see when we could go out again." Like while reporting that witnessing people dying right next to them. The crazy thing is that a lot of people are reporting that everybody knows somebody who has died. That's how big the level of killings has been, that everybody knows somebody who has died, which is insane, and the fact that they can't wait to go back into the streets. Like, people come and they get their audio recording out or their messages out, and they're saying that they're waiting for another opportunity. Right now, the military presence is high, and most of them, by the way, is from Hashd Shabi in Iraq, and Fatimiyun in from Afghanistan, and Zainabiyun from Pakistan, which suggests that the Iranians themselves that are part of the regime seems that they're refusing order, right? And they basically brought the proxies, the terrorists from Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Iraq. So yeah, Hashd Shabi, which is the popular mobilization front, that's from Iraq, and Fatih is from Afghanistan, and Zainab is from Pakistan. Yes. So apparently, I don't know if it's most, but a huge portion of the people who are being killed right now are from these foreign terrorists that the Islamic Republic is bringing in, and that is a red line that even some people within the regime cannot tolerate, and I think it's going to cause a lot more defections, seeing foreigners coming into Iran and killing Iranians. And but the ways that they're killing people is they have snipers, they have machine guns, military grade machine guns that are pointing into the crowd. The reports suggest that they're not aiming for anyone specifically. They're just pointing into the crowd and shooting. There was a report of some children in a park, like 24 or 25 children in a park, just chanting. And the armed forces showed up and they just killed every single one of those children. There are reports of people coming with backpacks because they have water bottles for everybody. They have like napkins for everyone else, and everybody is encouraging everybody when they come into the streets. They look at each other and they congratulate each other. There are reports of and people were reporting that elderly people were standing in front and the younger people were trying to get them to go back, and the elderly people were saying like, no, because we you guys are young and you should build the country, so let us be at the front so that we got shot first. There was a report of a husband and wife that were in the streets, and the wife told they passed a dead body, and the wife told her husband that if I get shot, you make sure you run away because I don't want our daughter to be an orphan. There's so many messages like this that are coming on. There was, I think, I don't know if you saw the audio recording from on Manoto. There was this daughter of a high-ranking IRGC member that called in, that was crying, that felt so much shame because she was part of this family, family of the regime, and she was telling the Iranian people that I promise you that we're not with these people. Like she felt so much guilt and shame for being part of them, and she was begging the armed forces to put down their weapon.
Yeah, let's play that clip actually.
فاطمه جان درود به شما، به برنامه خوش اومدید.
سلام، صدای من میشنوید؟
بله خانم، رسا در خدمتیم، خوش آمدید.
من از داخل نظام تماس میگیرم.
بله.
پدر من جزو یکی از عوامل نیروی سرکوبگره. شاهدم که چه جنایتایی فقط پدر خود من کرده.
فاطمه جان
الان دستور میده بکشین. من کجا بیام؟ من عکس دارم، فیلم دارم، مدارک دارم. ما اینا نیستیم. من سر جنبش محض رفتم، منو گرفتن با 3 تا از دوستان، ولی منو شناختن، پدرم اومد منو آزاد کرد. ولی دوستامو ول نکردن، به اونا تجاوز شد. ما اینا رو نمیخوایم. ما از خانواده ایناییم، ولی اینا دارن بچه هاشونم میکشن، سرکوب میکنن. میدونین ما خودمون چه دردی کشیدیم از این پدرهای سنگدل؟ به زور سرمون چادر کردن، نماز گفتن بخون، نماز شب بخون. ما خودمون زجر کشیدیم. من اگه توانی داشتم اولین نفری بودم که اینو بکشم.
There was another person that called into Manitou, and she was mentioning that her sister had MS, and even though she was walking with the cane, she still joined the protest. And when they started shooting, everybody ran away, but she couldn't run fast because she was on a cane, and they shot her on the side. And when she fell, other people went to try to grab her. And the people who went to try to grab her, they were being shot as well. So four bodies basically dropped right next to her, and eventually her sister, she was on the ground and she was still breathing, and even though she couldn't move anymore, they took another shot at her heart and killed her while she was on the ground. There's so many videos. The video that I just watched before coming here, I already mentioned that a mother who was looking at the bodies to find her child, at the end she starts cursing Islamic holy figures. There's so many. It's unbelievable. And also, I'm getting reports that the number, I don't know, this needs to be verified, but a lot of people from Iran are saying that the 12,000 or 20,000 number that they're giving out, it's a joke. They're saying that, I don't know if they're in a position to assess the numbers or not, but they're saying that their assessment is that the numbers are way, way higher than that. So, but we have to see. But my perception right now is that once we actually get the full reports, I think we're witnessing one of the greatest massacres in history, and I think a lot of people are going to be shamed for decades to come for either being silent about this or whitewash. A lot of people are calling it a human rights violation. It's a human rights violation is when you do this to the citizens of another country. I don't think they have name for this. I don't think they have a name for this when a regime does this to the people that it's supposed to be governing. This is a human rights violation if a government, if a military of a government goes and attacks another country and does this to a people of another country. What the Islamic Republic is doing right now, Iran doesn't have a name. We still haven't come up with a name for it. But here's the thing. I don't want to I just don't want to be all negative because the price is very, very high, but what we're getting in return is worth it, and I know it's worth it because the Iranian people are still coming out and still fighting after all they have paid, so they think it's worth it. And eventually, when we succeed, this is going to be you know a pivoting point, like a turning point in history. I think this is going to change everything. I think you're going to see Iran becoming a major solution to many of the problems that we're seeing in the Middle East and the rest of the world. We're going to be a source of secularism, democracy, just like when the Islamic Republic came into power. it started becoming a problem not just in Iran but the entire region and worldwide. I think once Iran becomes a secular democracy, we're also going to become a major solution worldwide. We're going to have a positive impact to our neighbors, to everything in that region, all the countries in that region. And I think the idea is because the Iranian people have the proper values, the values of secularism, democracy, individual rights, equality before the law, separation of powers, everything, all the values that makes a society great. The Iranian people have that, and this is why they're so undeserving of the regime that they have, because the best people have the worst regime has been forced upon the best people, in my opinion. I think the nation of Israel and the nation of Iran are the two groups of people that are fighting for life in a sea of death, all around them. And I think that and I think Israel deserves not to be alone in this region anymore. So I think that by liberating Iran, Israel will finally have an ally, have a partner fighting side by side with it. And I think that that will go a long way. And I think we're going to see a lot of. This is why I'm saying that Israelis, please don't think that if you get involved, and I hope you do, and Americans, please just don't you just do this for yourself. Do this for yourself. I promise you, you're going to see the benefits. The returns on this is going to be. You're not going to regret being. I mean, with or without help, we're going to be successful in this revolution. But because we're going to be successful, you're not going to regret being part of it and being responsible for all of us getting there. So we're just waiting. And by the way, I do think that something is going to happen. I don't know when this is going to come out, but I'm happy to have heard that the reason why Israel delayed the attack was not because it didn't want to help, but because they thought that the attack that was planned originally was insufficient, and they wanted something more meaningful and significant. So that's the reason for the delay, and I understand that, because the Islamic Republic, if they know that this is it, they will throw anything and everything they can at everybody around them, especially Israel. And it's very important for the attack to be carried out in a way that Israeli lives are protected. As long as it's coming, we understand the delay.
Yeah, I've also heard the numbers are much higher than what we're seeing, at least being reported in the media now initially. But I do want to ask you also about the aggressive disinformation campaign by the regime and its apologists in the West. I'm wondering if you can explain a little about how the Iran lobby operates and why it goes into overdrive at moments like this when the regime is most at risk. I mean, we're even seeing figures like Tucker Carlson echo talking points that benefit the regime. It's funny, you actually had a viral moment with Goldie Gamari this week when Tucker Carlson's bizarre rants were literally being broadcasted by the regime on state TV. How does this psychological operation work, and why is it so effective in confusing Western audiences?
Yeah, so the Islamic Republic has, if I want to simplify it, it has the hardliners and the reformers, and the reformers are a much bigger problem than the hardliners, because the hardliners don't know how to do politics, but the reformers have so-called reformers, right? The so-called reformers, they're actually a lot more brutal and barbaric, but they know how to play politics, and they also know how to put on a face, like basically pretend that they're civilized and they're abiding by international standards. And the reformers, the so-called reformers, people with and their leaders are Rouhani, Zarif, Arakchi, Tajzadeh, and people like that. They have managed to um, you figure out exactly how to infiltrate into the American political system, and they have been working on these networks for many, many, many years. I mean, even doing Nayak is, a lot of people understand Nayak is part of the reformers arm of the Islamic Republic. They also have so many other ways. They have so many allies. They have so many friends. And they spend a lot of money in building these networks to have some influence over Washington D.C. And this is the reformers are very important to, because they also had a plan they had a plan to sell their leader of the opposition, their own candidates for leader of the opposition to the United States, um, like for example Nargis Mohammadi or Taraneh Ali Dosti, or some alternatives to Princess of Pahlavi, so that they could, as we call it in Iran, transition to a third republic. So the first republic is Khomeini, the second republic is Khamenei, the third republic is supposed to be an Islamic republic that is going to pretend that they have reformed, that everything is okay now. But these are, but if you actually look at the record of the people that they pick as the alternative to Princess of Pahlavi as the leader of the opposition, you can see that they're anti-imperialist, and they're, anti-imperial. I mean, they're not technically anti-imperialist; they're pro-imperialist, but they call themselves anti-imperialist. Um, and they're anti-Zionists, and they're anti-Pahlavi. By the way, for Israelis, it's very telling that everybody who is anti-Pahlavi, almost everybody, the Venn diagram is like really closely matches. Most people who are anti-Pahlavi are also anti-Zionist or anti-Israeli, which shows that Pahlavi and Pahlavi supporters and our patriots, they're on the right side of history. And also, by the way, it's very telling that the Iranian people, the name that everybody is calling in the streets of Iran in these protests is somebody that is a very close friend of Israel and is prioritizing recognizing the state of Israel in their transition, in the 100-day emergency transition plan, as priority number one in week one of the foreign policy. If people read the booklet, so somebody that has this high of a priority when it comes to normalizing relationship with Israel is the Iranians pick for the leader, which shows Iranians' view on Israel, right? So that's very telling. So when it comes to lobbies, by the way, there's another more sneaky lobby that we have to pay attention to, because a lot of these different groups that have influence over Washington D.C. have been exposed during their years, and they're still influential, but they're not as influential as they used to be. However, the Islamic Republic has managed to turn its friend and some of its enemies into lobbies in Washington as well. So by making Qatar, the UAE, and Saudi Arabia understand that if I'm going down, I will take as much of you down with me as I possibly can, it has turned these three countries effectively into its own lobbies in Washington, D.C. So the Islamic Republic has influence in Washington, D.C., but it's never as, say, powerful as what these three countries, the influence that these countries have in Washington, D.C. is significantly higher. And by threatening them, so it has turned all of these three countries into against regime change in Iran, which is a very effective way of using these countries' lobbying power in Washington, D.C. to basically push for what they want.
Now, we are almost out of time, but I do want to ask you before I let you go. As a ex-Muslim, as one of the leading voices against Islamism, how central is the rejection of religious rule to this uprising? And what does a post-Islamic Republic Iran actually look like from the perspective of Iranians inside the country right now?
Before this wave of this revolution, because I think the revolution was much longer living, this is just the last wave of it, but before this wave of the revolution, our there was close to, like, the vast majority of the Iranian people agreed with the four principles of Princes of Pahlavi, right? So border integrity, democracy, secularism, so separation of church and power, and the fourth principle is equal individual rights for all citizens, right? So secularism is the second, I think, highest priority for Iranians. So much so that polls even suggest that even Muslim Iranians want secularism. So even the vast majority of Iranians who are Muslim, they don't want it in politics anymore. So that's a good sign. Um, However, what I think is that, so I don't think that Islam will have any chance in politics once the Islamic Republic falls. So that, to many people, including Muslims, that's a given. That's like obvious. That is so obvious that it doesn't even need to be discussed. Like, there's no chance. Like, we're going to be extremely. I don't think, like, I don't like I also think that not that many far left parties are going to have any chance. I think there are going to be laws passed not to allow communism in our parliament as well, but we'll see about that. I'm going to push for them, right? But so I think another question that we should be asking that is more challenging to ask is that, is this the end of Islam in Iran? Like eventually, like I'm not saying it's going to happen immediately, because we already were like a couple of years ago, we were already in a point that we understood regime change in Iran means the end of Islam in politics, and the end of the Rouhani class, the end of the mullah class. Like that is the end of it. But now, after the crimes that the Islamic Republic committed, we're wondering if Islam as a religion as a whole will survive in Islam in Iran. That's the question right now. Anyways, I see we're running out of time, so I'm just going to end it there. Yeah, but
Yes, well, we are out of time, but I do want to thank you so much for joining us. Armin Navabi, thanks for joining us and sharing about this important topic. In addition to all the great work that you do at Atheist Republic, I want to encourage all of you to check it out. I'm probably a little biased because I'm also on there occasionally,
yeah.
but really important work that you're doing, Armin.
Can I just say one last thing? I can't wait for the day where Israelis get to come celebrate with us right next to Cyrus's tomb. I can I'm imagining all around Cyrus's tomb a wave of the flag of Iran, the lion and sun flag of Iran, and Israeli flags. All Israelis and Iranians celebrating our victory together. Yeah, I can't just wait for that to welcome all Israelis finally to come as guests to Iran to celebrate this together. And I also wanted to just add Am Israel Chai and Javid Shah. And thank you.
Absolutely. We can't wait for that day. Thank you, Armin.